I'm Joe Buckner. I'm a 46-year-old father, son, friend, entrepreneur from Fort Collins, Colorado.
Where are we? What is this place?
We are in beautifully Savage Boxing Studio. This is the boxing fitness studio that I own in Fort Collins, Colorado.
So you're an entrepreneur, you own several boxing studios, you're also a trainer here?
Yeah. Yes, I teach classes here as well as I run all the social media, the branding, design the apparel, the gloves, I empty the trashes, I sweep, I do all the things here. I also own a mobile sneaker boutique called Good Trouble Shop, and I'm involved in a general contracting business as well.
Cool. Good trouble, like John Lewis?
Just like John Lewis.
Nice. Why boxing?
Why boxing? I love the parallels between boxing and life. I love the idea of taking the best shot that someone can throw and still continuing to fight on for what you want and what you believe in. I love the idea of teaching people how to get up off the canvas and continue to endeavor and fight for what they want in this life. So I absolutely am enamored with the parallels between boxing and life and how people can apply them to their life.
What do you fight for in your life?
I fight for legacy in my life. I fight to make the people who love me proud of me.
So nearly a year ago, George Floyd was killed. Do you remember when you first heard about what happened, saw that video?
I do remember when I saw the George Floyd video. I want to tell you that I was surprised, but I wasn't. As a 46-year-old black man, it's not the first time I've seen a video like that. I've seen countless videos since then. So I wasn't surprised. The thing that surprised me is that the officers were held accountable. That's what surprised me.
That just happened recently.
Even the fact that there was a conversation around them being held accountable and arrested and then charged was what surprised me more than the fact that he died.
When you saw people talking about that, calling for justice, marching all around the country, what was your reaction to that?
My reaction to seeing people protesting and calling for action and protesting and marching, some peacefully, some not so peacefully, was, this is fantastic, but what are we going to do with all this? What is the desired outcome from all this? I'm all for people being excited, but I'm also a results-oriented person, and I want to know, where are we going to go with all this excitement? Where are we going to go with all this energy? Because there's groundswell, there's momentum. If we're going to do something, now's the time to do it. What are we going to do besides make some noise? And so that's the question that I kept asking as I'm watching and as I get invited to different rallies and things, is okay, like, what are we going to do? Because we can do something now. Now that the conversation's been open, I feel like we can do something. And then you started seeing things happening. Different cities signing police reform bills, and the conversation even opening up that, hey, sometimes things don't go the way they're supposed to and someone has to be held accountable. So that was really cool. But as I was watching it, the same thing happened when Rodney King died, Eric Garner, Michael Brown. And so I just kept kind of waiting to see what was going to come next.
Has your life changed?
My life hasn't really changed. One of the other things that I think has been a blessing, but at times a challenge, is the conversation that opened up around privilege. And a lot of people either wanting people to feel shame for their privilege or feeling shame for their privilege. My life didn't change much because of my privilege. I'm born and raised in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is one of the safest places in the country. I didn't grow up seeing rampant police brutality. I went to some of the best schools in the state. I went to college, so I also have privilege from being born in the place that I was born in. So to say that my life has changed, not really, but it has allowed for more open dialogue around race and class and some of the things that maybe we didn't talk about before in mixed company.
Have people felt more comfortable asking you about these issues and asking you, like, is this okay? Can I talk to you about this?
People have felt more comfortable I'd say at a point too comfortable, right? When you live in a place that's not incredibly diverse, there does become the tendency that you become the spokesperson for all things Black. And again, my experience is very, very different than someone else's. Therefore, I can't speak to all things Black. I can only speak to how I feel and what I see and what I've experienced. So, yes, people have felt more comfortable reaching out, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the conversations as well, as long as the intention is good.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in if people are expecting you to speak for Black men.
It's an incredibly tough spot to be in because my experience is going to be different than someone who grew up in Brooklyn or Miami and Little Haiti or Compton or Dallas or even Seattle. My experience is entirely different. All of our experiences are different. So the other thing that I've liked is that we've been able to get away from the idea of a monolith, like Black, all one thing, right? So you've seen the rise of a Candace Owens, for example, and you see people attack her. And yet, she's just as Black as the rest of us. She's just telling a different story. And so that's been an interesting thing for me to see too, in terms of what people say Black is.
That is interesting because she's a very controversial character. What do you think when you see, because the stereotype, the expectation is Black people are not conservative. They fall into this voting group.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
I don't believe that any race of people fall into any one group of things. I also, because social media is probably the biggest driving force in most of our lives in terms of where we gather our information and how we start conversations, I also understand the game that some of these people are playing. And so it makes sense to say controversial things, especially if you have this face, because it's going to get more attention than, let's say, if you said it. And so I try to tune that out because I know that that's what those folks are looking for, is attention. I don't even know if they necessarily mean all the things they say, but they understand that clicks equal dollars, views equal dollars. So I sometimes, for me personally, question the sincerity. And if I question the sincerity of something, I just tune it out.
You said you saw things changing, like different cities voting on police reform bills. Derek Chauvin was held accountable. Is there more that you want to see change around here?
Is there more than I'd like to see change around me? What a fantastic question that is. I don't know if this is the answer you're looking for, but I don't know what can change when your skin is the weapon. I don't know what can change. I don't know what can change. So.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's my answer. You know, I'd like to say all these things are going to change, but the challenge we face is, last year you heard people saying we're going to end racism, but we won't. For every 10 people that want to end racism, there's 10 people that are like, absolutely not. So sometimes I feel maybe just empathy is the answer. If you believe that I'm less than you because your father told you that and his father told him that and your uncles and everyone told you that, that's what you really believe, and your perception is your reality. I know I'm not less than you, so my perception is also my reality. But I can't convince you to see the world the way that I want you to see it. But I can try to understand why you see it that way. And if you want to see it that way, that's your choice. I don't care, just don't get in my way, and I won't get in your way. Don't try to impede my progress, and I certainly won't try to impede yours. But if we can have real conversations, I've had conversations with a lot of people, and I will tell you that in the last year, one of the best things that happened to me, my life did change. I made friends with a girl named Bethany who's a white supremacist. And that was awesome. That was really cool. At a gas station.
How?
You know, I walked in one day to buy a bar, I don't want to say the brand, a bar and a drink on my way to Denver. And this young lady says, "Hey, mister, are you going to the gym?" She had a great southern accent. I said, "No, why do you ask?" "Well, you got them big old muscles and you're wearing workout clothes and you're buying one of those bar things. So I assumed you're going to the gym." And I just laughed. I thought it was adorable. I said, no, I'm not going to the gym. The gas station was close to my house. So I started going there regularly and I would hear her talking about her beliefs and things of that nature. And so I just engaged with her. And one day she said, "I have a son and his name is Aryan." I said, like Aryan Nation? She said, "Absolutely. I'm a white supremacist. Me and my husband don't believe in race mixing, and that's who we are. We're from Kentucky. That's what we believe." It was in that moment where we could have went one of two ways. I could have tried to admonish her and tell her that that's silly and crazy, but instead I said, "Tell me more about that." And we started talking. And then we became friends on Instagram. And then she would text and say, "Hey, I'm working at the gas station. If you're gonna come by today and get some gas or something, I'll take my break and we can talk." And we would talk. And one day she says, "You're the first black friend I've ever had." I said, "Cool, I'm glad you think we're friends. I appreciate that." Last year, I watched that girl, young lady, post things in support of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all from us having a conversation instead of having an argument. So I don't know that we'll ever change the world, but we can change our little corner of the world by just trying to understand why people feel the way they feel and believe what they believe, instead of trying to change it.
Wow. Most people like crazy, like you asshole, like I don't know, just I don't know if I would have done that.
Yeah.
Any questions?
You said you have kids. You have a kid,
I,
multiple kids.
I have 4 kids.
You have 4 kids.
Uh-huh.
Boys, girls, mixed.
I have 3 girls and a son. And the last year has actually been very interesting to watch my son become more militant in his beliefs and his understanding that he believes that people of color should arm themselves and understand the Second Amendment and learn gun safety and how to take care of themselves and things of that nature. So that's been an interesting thing to have conversation around with my 21-year-old son, because we definitely see the world differently and I give him space to see it how he sees it. But it's also been kind of cool to see him take a stand.
Find his own voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You said, I think early in the interview, like you want to make, you care about legacy and you want to make the people who love you proud. I'm guessing you want to make those 4 kids proud.
I do want to make them proud. You know, there's a lot of people in this world that say things like, you know, I had to prove my haters wrong. I had to prove these people wrong. I have a lot of people to prove right. A lot of people believed in me since day one. You know, the people that come to this gym believe in me. And so that's why we fought to keep it open for the last year. You know, anybody that's ever said an encouraging word to me believes in me. And so I have a lot of people to prove right. And that's where my legacy will lie, is in the lives that I've touched, the people that come in here that maybe they leave and don't come back. But during our brief encounters, did I leave that person better than I found him? And if I did, then I feel good about the legacy that I'm leaving in this world.